Hi guys.
Hi everyone.
So yeah, so I know all of you, most of you wouldn't have got to really come up with a fully fledged idea. Some of it might have just been a discussion or where you want to take this, and that's okay. I feel like we might be able to put these things together and kind of start creating around it. Cool.
So yeah, before we start, sorry, is everyone okay to go a little bit over time, about maybe 5-10 minutes past 8? Is everyone okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, awesome. So then let's have 10-minute pitching sessions. So sorry, you can.
Okay, so any group wants to go first. Again, if you don't have a fully fledged idea, that's completely fine. You can just tell what your discussion was about. And like if you picked out a theme or character, or even just kind of decided on, like if you all decided on one key area, that's also fine. So I know that some of you have to go early. So any group wants to go first?
Shall we go according to group order? Group 1, group
Yeah,
2.
sure.
Yeah. Can't hear you,
I
Nishan.
think
You're
we
muted.
were group.
Sorry,
one
if
and
there's anyone who has to go early, maybe we can take their group first.
Everyone seemed to be fine, right?
Yeah, no?
You guys can stay till 8-10 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
So I think we were group 1. Yeah.
Okay. So we had Nathan and Shiran. Do either of you guys want to just give us a brief idea of what you talked about, or if you came up with any kind of idea of what you want to talk about?
Yeah. Okay. So the idea is, so a topic is like Omegle incident. So you know how, wait, everyone knows Omegle, right? Okay. So Omegle has a lot of creeps, and like we thought about this incident where this girl or boy go on Omegle and then just say
Sorry,
okay
knows
to
who?
the what?
Who's the character? Omega? Omega?
Omegle is not a character, Sanjay.
It's a social media
It's a
platform.
social
Yeah,
media
oh,
platform.
Sanjay,
So
you're
it's can someone explain Omegle to our resident boomer? So it's like Sanjit, have you heard of
Guys.
chat? Have you heard of chat roulette?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
It's kind of like
okay,
chat
okay.
roulette.
It's
So,
like,
but yeah, it's pretty much like chat roulette.
Oh,
It's
I
called.
was like, why everyone's heard of it? And I was like, wait, what? Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead, Shiran.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
So it's a story about this girl or a boy going on Omegle and just not reading the privacy policy and just saying okay, like all of us do, and then getting in a trouble where this creep is texting him, and he's dumb. The main character is dumb, so he's just gonna give all the information out, and there's like a drama like that. So that was the idea on it.
Anything else you guys want to add?
Okay, that's cool. So that's actually, good draft of a storyline. Did you guys have any idea of, okay, so one specific character you have is the dumb, like kid who's just basically no idea about privacy. In terms of the creep or in terms of consequence, did you have any idea? It's okay if you didn't, but just to kind of pin down the ideas that you came up with.
Nathan's idea was about this guy making a multimillionaire and working with the boy or the girl. That's the
Okay, that's
idea.
interesting. Okay. Anything else, guys?
It could end as a good thing, like getting into work and stuff, but it could also end badly. So we were just stuck there.
All right. So his prompt is, "I'm a multimillionaire. I can find you work." That's actually, and where that could go. Am I getting it right? Okay, that's good. That's a good start. Great. So everybody else here, do you guys have any ideas, feedback, or feel like, again, ideas where this could go, or if you feel like you can add to it?
First of all, does everyone know what Omegle is?
We seem to be the only ones who didn't, but okay.
Feeling.
Yes,
I didn't know
because
what it was either.
I'm sure we didn't know. Okay.
Excuse me, I don't know about you. Yeah, we know
quickly
what Omegle
Googled
is.
yeah,
it.
Wow.
don't
Yeah.
drag us into this.
Yeah.
Give me
Wow,
a
this
chance.
boomer pit you guys are.
Yeah.
I mean, I never even I'd even come across it like in a news
Sanjit,
article or anything.
the trick is to quickly Google it and pretend
I
you know.
thought it was a character. No, but I didn't hear it, right? I thought it was Omega, and I was like, is that
No,
like
even
a
if you heard it,
character?
Sanjit, you don't know it, no, Sanjit. Even if you heard it properly.
No, I wouldn't know what to Google, right? I wouldn't know what to
right,
Google
right.
because I wouldn't know what to spell it because I didn't hear
My
it.
Google search right now. Anyway, okay. I think it's actually a very interesting idea that we can expand on. Everybody else, again,
Any
do you think
feedback?
it's a
Any
good
ideas?
idea? Feedback? Anything you want to add to the characters? Go ahead, guys. Again, we want you guys to start taking the lead now. So we're gonna take a back seat.
So I watched like a documentary of sorts about how Omegle is so bad, and one of the main ideas is the fact that like most of the creeps out there are usually like old people or people who are like very mature, as opposed to those kids who are the ones who are like exposed to what is happening because they don't have like very explicit age restrictions and things like that. So as long as you can access Google, you can access Omegle and start chatting with people. So maybe characters on the perspective of like, you know, people who are exploiting that kind of like irrationality.
Thanks,
think
Dunit. Can you
another-
tell us the name of the documentary just so everybody can maybe...
I'm not sure, but I can find it on YouTube and maybe send it on the group.
Yeah, that'll be great.
So a thing I thought about because of the format of Omegle, because it's like these quick videos that go by, like on top of like the millionaire creep who's trying to lure these kids, we can have funny other characters also, you know, pop up in that.
Small just interruption just to clarify things to Dimuthu. Dimuthu අපි දැන් කරන්නේ කට්ටියගේ අර group එකේ කතා කරපු ideas ටික pitch කරනවා. First group එකේ පොඩි අදහසක් තිබ්බා අර Omegle කියලා platform එකක් තියෙනවා ඕන කෙනෙක්ට කතා කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ platform එකේ දැනට ඒගොල්ලෝ develop කරන idea එක තමයි ඒ platform එකේ කවුරු හරි මේ privacy මුකුත් ගැන හිතන්නේ නැති ළමයෙක් එක්ක කතා කරන්න පටන් අරන් ඒකෙන් කොහාටද යන්න පුළුවන් කියන එක. So Dunit gave us an idea that there's a documentary අපිට ඒක බලන්නත් පුළුවන්. මේකට අදහසට add කරන්න අපි දැන් කරන්නේ හැමෝගෙම ideas ටික අරගෙන we'll start giving feedback. තව අපි පොඩ්ඩක් add කර බලමු කොහාටද යන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. Yeah, thanks for that, Dunit. Anybody else? Any more feedback on this? And then we can move on to the next idea.
So wait, as he said, we can like add funny characters as like the creep can come to the end and there will be this boy or a girl just skipping other characters for like acting dumb, like you know how like they just skip every call. So like it could be from the start to end, like meeting the creep at the end and then meeting other people from the start.
That's actually a really good idea, Chiran, because we have to also look into it as you guys going in, right? So like if most of you do use Omegle and some of you do use Omegle, I think that's a good idea over the week to see how you guys navigate it. Because again, we don't want it at the end, just somebody coming and saying, okay, this is bad, right? So something we decided in the beginning is all these platforms can be fine as long as we know how to use it, right? So Chiran's idea, I think, is good that we don't start just the creep and, you know, it could be just someone like you just having a chat with, again, kids your age and suddenly, like, you know, it could be an older person kind of creep or kind of breaking through the cracks, which is a good idea, I think.
Yeah, so the 10 minutes is kind of up. If any of you don't have any other ideas, we can move to group 2. All good? Okay, so group 2.
That's a great start, guys. Yeah. So
We were two,
group
right?
2?
We were two.
Yeah, group 2. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Shaki, you can start us off.
Okay, so when we went into the breakout rooms, one of the things that we first started off with was to basically just our perspectives as to what we learned. And one of the things that were common to all four of us was the fact that we realized that there was so much about privacy that we didn't know and that we were very much unaware of. And based off on that idea of the fact that we didn't know so much, that we were oblivious to some of the facts, we picked up from there and came up with the idea. And Okita will tell you what we came up with.
So we were brainstorming a few ideas, and this was one of the ideas that caught our eye that we came up with. So the main concept of this idea would be, just to sum it up a little, is that it's a representation of basically Facebook or WhatsApp or any social media status, or that entity who is like inflicting on your privacy, shown as a person. So for example, opening as an intro. For example, if I'm in the center, and that if I'm sitting on a chair and I open my laptop, then there's like these 5 or like 6 people who just randomly pop up behind me and are like looking into what I'm doing. So if I'm going through any like daily activity like Google searching, or like going through YouTube, or trying to just do something completely normal, and these people behind me are just looking into it, and like there's this entire scene happening behind me. So for example, if the person is going on to like any website or anything, they drop things like cookies in front of them, and the person's annoyed, and he just like passes off the cookies. The people behind him are like happy, and like they take cookie, and then they like get loads of papers or a lot of information, and there's like this entire scenario of chaos where they're like selling something or like selling papers happening right behind you, while this one person is just blatantly blindly staring into their screen, unaware of what's happening. So that's a small intro to what would like basically happen. Another idea that came up was something regarding how when you like, so for example, something that a person tweeted a very long time ago, or something like that person did on social media a long time ago, could be brought up in something such as a job interview. And we sort of thought of this different idea of connecting these two things together, like where the job interviewer is like standing on is like sitting on a chair and like talking to that person, but is completely unaware of what that person is saying, because the 5 people behind him is like whispering into his ear what he did in the past or anything like that. But something that we came into, another idea that like drawed out from those two, was that how this would end on the informative side of our ideas. And like Nishan had screen shared before during the workshop about how you can change your settings. So while the person is like starting to change his settings, the chaos is starting to lessen right behind him, and like these people are like, oh no, what's happening? And they are just devastated because this person is like changing all their privacy settings. And as it lessens, you realize that now you're more protected, and like there's a much decreased chance of your information getting out, and you're much more protected than you were before. That's basically what our idea was.
Yeah. I really like
that's
that.
pretty,
That's
yeah.
good.
That was good.
It's
Yeah,
very visual.
and
I was picturing it. Yeah, Janit, go
and
ahead.
as an aesthetic, I think we were discussing like the characters who were supposed to be looking into your screens. They aren't necessarily serious characters. They're very funny. We were thinking of a very office type cast that's happening behind you while you're looking in the screen. And when we went into the job interview, it would be those same cast members, as in the people who are supposed to be your internet personalities. They will be communicating with the bosses, internet personalities. And yeah, I think Sahansa will tell you like specifically how crazy it would get when the settings went off. So Sahansa.
So yeah, Okita basically explained it, but like he realizes, and then he kind of changes his settings, and when he changes his settings, like all these people around him starts like crumbling and being sad, and because they can't pass information around anymore, and because they don't know as much about you as they did before, because you obviously changed your settings. And so now they can see less, and therefore like they know less about you, and like there's like if you're in a job interview, like Okita said, now they will know less about you, so the people speaking into the boss's ear, it'll be like much less, so they'll see more of the real you rather than the internet you, or like what you actually tweet and do online. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a very visual idea. I think that's a great idea. We can have fun with actually creating the characters too. And in just a connection I saw is even like the other story, there might be like, that's the interesting thing about these ideas. If you find ways to connect your ideas to different ideas also, it will be great. Great work, guys. I like the fact that you thought of style and kind of been able to think of a style in terms of characters and stuff as well. Everyone else feedback?
So to add to the visuals, because like Pimi said, it's really visual, I was also thinking if we are doing a video, we can easily do this like special effects or like cuts where suddenly when the privacy settings are changed, they get blindfolded or they get earmuffs or suddenly they can't talk. Like we can cut and replace them with a jump cut. Every time one of these things happen, like they suddenly get like visually impeded as well, and the chaos, like you said, kind of reduces. That's something you could do.
Any other ideas, guys, or feedback for this? Come on, guys. Even if it's a good or bad idea.
Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna turn into online school. I'm just seeing nightmares about it already.
Is there any other scenarios that you guys can think that's outside your job interview? Any other ideas? I think like if we can diversify the different scenarios.
We were talking about how we just mentioned how Donald Trump's tweets were just like brought back, or anything he said in the past just gets brought back and thrown at him from the media. So yeah, so something like that maybe.
Yeah, like the job interview is a really good
Yeah,
idea.
it's a good idea.
If you can expand on more things your like friends can relate to, even in the interview, but could be some
like
school kind of thing.
A date
Yeah,
or something.
On a date.
Actually.
So like the prospective date isn't paying attention to you, but is hearing about what all your friends on social media have to say about him.
Right.
Yeah, this is not personal experience, right? Has it?
It can't be.
Another thing I really liked about this is giving personality to each platform.
We can really play
I
with
think
that.
that's going to be really fun, and actually really go into what these platforms are. I think you can personally research what is Instagram as a person,
Yeah,
Facebook, or
that'd be really
Omegle
fun.
as a person. Like, I think that we could really have some fun with. Yeah, that's a great work, guys.
Yeah, like for example, WhatsApp could be really chatty, constantly talking. Instagram could be maybe like a influencer style, always taking selfies kind of like person. Like yeah, we could like really have fun with it.
Cool. Shall
Cool.
we move on to the next group if we don't have any? Again, guys, if you feel any of this are like not really in your line, that's fine too, because at the end of the day, we are gonna work on this together. So if you think it's a good idea where you can add, just come in, okay, at any point. Cool. Shall we move on to group 3?
Yeah, so group 3 was us. I think Shavi will. By the way, all of you can also contribute your ideas. Shavi.
Thanks. So basically what we thought of doing was like a sort of fairy tale sort of vibe to it. Like, you know, classic, like boy meets like girl, they fall in love or whatever. And like the boy essentially exploits the girl, and we were thinking of doing this sort of pictures thing, you know, because it's like quite common for girls essentially to become like quite entangled and guilt tripping to sort of giving like pictures of themselves, and it's become such a wide phenomenon, especially in like Sri Lanka. So we had like 3 sort of angles which each of us came up with. The first one was like the sharing pictures. The second one was about like rumors and about like why the pictures were given and how it like tends to destroy a person's life. And the third angle was like maybe like, you know, there could be like a bit like catfishing, how other people were trying to like, there are like people who are like inherently old, pretending to be younger guys and like chatted with others and like getting the pictures. And we thought of interconnecting this like in a sort of plot and like giving it. We were also thinking, I don't know, this is just a concept about like making it a bit less like old as well, like incorporating certain like ancient aspects, like how the letters, like how the rumors spread in those sort of terms.
Yeah, so just to add to that, so it's going to be like a fully like fairy tale kind of scenario. So princess, and the way and this was Dunit's idea, like the way like the messages and stuff will be passed around is through like ancient methods, you know, like either through bow and arrow or through like horses. Like that's how the rumors will spread, how the pictures will be shared and things like that. So it shows you, Dunit, actually, why don't you explain that idea of yours, that angle?
Thanks. So the idea is to kind of compare the timelines and saying like right now it's taken as such like the simple issue of just, you know, pictures being passed around, messages being passed around. It's like a viral culture, and it's something that just people just pass by. But when you exaggerate that in a context where all of these things were absent, then you really see like what kind of an impact it has on people's lives, because it actually looks like someone going out and passing around the message, putting up like actual physical posters, things like that. So kind of make it a big deal when in context it's not.
I just got a visual idea to kind of merge this. I don't know if it might be a good idea, it might not be, just to pitch it to you guys. So I really like this idea of the old fashion, but we could merge in, for example, say it's actually the princess's picture being drawn and set around, but even how she decides to frame the picture could be Instagrammy. So she would have like, I don't know, like I don't know, you know, these Instagram pictures we see, it's the princess in her old setting, but the picture we see is very familiarly Instagrammy. So just a fusion, just an idea.
Also, when we were talking about fairy tales, Surangana Katha kind of thing, we were also thinking to make it like Sri Lankan specific, like that kind of style. So like the ancient kings and like the costumes and all that stuff could be very much, you know, like set in like a Sri Lankan kind of context. And we can, you know, use that way. I think we can communicate to the masses as well, because everyone, like it will be a familiar thing.
Are you suggesting that the frescoes are like leaked photos?
I didn't even think about it.
It's on the wall, and it's on the wall now, which is ironic.
It's on a wall. Yeah.
It's quite funny though. Cool idea. Anybody else, guys? Any feedback?
So in terms of characters, we were just thinking princess, prince, and then Vimutu was thinking about like another guy friend, and then, you know, having this kind of sharing these things. It was also not just pictures. There was also the idea of just maybe even a rumor, and how rumors spread, like a Raskochia kind of thing. But with I think the main thing that was fleshed out were this idea of a fairy tale, and then playing with this idea of like how things were shared back then, and how, you know, how silly it is, right? And kind of like contrasting that with how easily we do it now. But like, you know, that was like the central idea, and I think we can plug in all sorts of things to it. But in terms of a context and characters, we can make it very feel like a, you know, like a fairy tale or like a Sri Lankan fairy tale or a Sulangan kind of thing. Could have a narrator, you know, stuff like that.
Just another idea and maybe reference when you said Sri Lankan fairy tales or historic tale. I don't know if it's fairy tale or legend. Just an idea I got is like even things like, you know, was it Unmada Chitra on the big fortress thing was hidden?
Yeah, no?
Right, with the brothers and stuff. So it could be funny. Someone like that
If
who
it's a
the
character.
family is trying to privacy protect, but she has her own modes of, you know, Rajakale Instagram. Like she has some kind of mode to still get it out through pigeons or something. I don't know.
No, that's a really good idea. We take an actual like an actual legendary character. That would be cool.
Who is covered by the fortress, but somehow how is this in that? Again, it's interesting to think of the metaphor in terms of reality. Like Shakya said, the fact that their group didn't realize, you know, we think we are still safe in a, you know, in a safe area, but still, yeah, that's a really interesting, cool metaphor. I think we can do a lot with that too. Any other ideas or feedback, guys?
All right, I guess we can go to group 4 now. By the way, y'all can also think about this throughout the week. So what's going to happen is, actually, we'll talk about that after group 4, I suppose. So
group 4, unfortunately, we didn't have time to come up with something creative, but we had most of our discussions were based on, you know, what aspects of privacy we care about most. So Aksa came up with, oh yeah, there we go. So Tushan started talking about how, you know, social media platforms need to have better policies around privacy and everything. And then Aksa, then from there onwards, started talking about, you know, how your actions on social media today can be used against you somewhere down the line in the future. And that I think is akin to mostly with what group 2 said about, you know, about their job interviews or whatever, where, you know, what you do today when you go to a job interview or something, or even any sort of setting, that your information can be used against you. And then Abdul, I think, pushed it a bit more further, where he was talking about what about blackmail? Can this information be used against you for blackmailing? So these are the things, these are the ideas that we threw around. We didn't really have time to come up with something creative, given that I think two of
there was a few connection issues as well.
Y'all, any of y'all have any other ideas? Like maybe even based off like ideas to combine some of the things that we talked about, like a hybrid kind of like idea as well.
Or ideas you got after
here. So I think I'll just mention. One of our members, like Anuj, like he couldn't really connect because of connectivity issues. He had like drawn this comic, which was also kind of an idea in itself, which was where I think it's a little similar to one of the other ideas where each social media platform is a character. And his idea was like these characters are kind of taking part in a
reality
contest,
TV kind
like, you know,
of
something
thing.
like privacy, privacy reality, like a reality show, and the theme of the reality show is like privacy, and they are kind of like competing to for the position of like, I don't know, most the best privacy statement or something of the sort, I guess.
That's pretty cool, because that's actually what's happening right now, right? You have all of these social media platforms, they just come out and they're like, hey, look at our privacy controls and everything. We are doing privacy the best. So yeah, that's pretty interesting actually.
Dimutu has added in the chat leaking. Yeah, basically I think a lot of the stories kind of touched on like the consequence and how it goes out. So I think one common thread that everybody has in their storylines is the idea of the victim, perpetrator, and that kind of consequence and the speed at which, again, I thought all of you, it was interesting, the forms and the speed at which this sharing, oversharing is happening and the people involved. So I think this is actually a bank of really good ideas, guys. So what we'll do over the week is we'll try to put this down in like your writing pictures a bit more framed so that you can kind of read through it and keep thinking about it over the week. And let's strategize how we can keep working on it, or we might think about how we can maybe combine these ideas and find like one solid idea to work with. And again, I wanted to remind you that none of these ideas are going, like basically all these ideas will be going into the bank of ideas, because one thing we are working towards is our collective PSAs. These are the 4 video outputs that all of us together will create for mass. But on the side, something again we want to do, because this decision we actually made after seeing your applications and the kind of individual work you've also been able to do. So even in subgroups or individually, if you want to pursue one of these ideas further, we can still do that too. So let's kind of figure a way out how to develop this, but really great work, guys. I think we have some really solid ideas.
So what we'll do is we'll probably meet next week. We won't have a workshop like the workshop we had today, but what we'll do is we'll kind of divide you guys into writers, directors, actors, musicians, things like that, right? Like, and this will be based off what you guys are interested in, right? So all of you can have be in multiple groups if you are interested in helping with the writing, the acting, and things like that. And what we'll do is we'll try to develop one script, like Amy said, for the privacy issue, right? So we'll collectively discuss like what's a good idea. Maybe it will be a combination of this. But as Pimi mentioned, like the rest of the ideas, if you all want to break out into smaller groups and do something, like maybe make a comic around it, maybe make a song around it, do your personal projects around it, we would actually encourage you guys to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Write about it, maybe write a short story around one of these ideas. So that way, even though we have these 4 main videos that come out, we'll still have these like multiple output, and
Content
they can be
share with your friends. Yeah.
And they won't just be a video, right? You can have this multi, modular kind of like formatted kind of content, like pictures, songs, all this kind of stuff, right? Because we, like we said, really thought like your applications were amazing, and we'll send the release form around, because we were thinking that we'd want to slowly start featuring some of those content. Again, with your permission, right? The personal kind of content that you brought forward. And if any of you all want to take some of those ideas and develop it further, you can contact us as well. And even if you all want to work in smaller groups, we can do that, right?
Yeah, and just to think about roles, I think it's really important, guys, that we also really think of our team as researchers. One of the best things about this group is like you all are all thinkers and researchers. So even in the terms of like one of you had specifically even mentioned in your feedback form that you just don't want to create just anything, right? You want to create something that will have impact and, be, won't just be another kind of thing that's out there, right? So to create something like that, we really need to go into the thinking of what we are doing. So over the week, again, for example, Dunit mentioned a documentary. Over the week on the topic we discussed, if we see things that might help us develop characters, articles, like, actual research material that will help us, please start sharing it around with each other on the group, or like, you can personally contact each other. So we can start kind of get our brains working around this issue. Yeah.
So next week, we'll try and meet for about an hour, and it won't be a workshop. It will just mainly be splitting all of us into groups and then starting to write the script. So the writers will mainly be focusing on that. And the idea is the video has to be a very short video, right? Something we can share on like Instagram and things like that, right? So like 1 minute, or we could potentially go to 2 minutes if required, but some sort of short form video, right? So that's kind of the output we are focusing on.
Just small thing to add there. And part of your research is, again, see what you are watching, like what kind of video would you watch? What would your friends watch that isn't too preachy, that like would keep their attention and would create impact? So again, this is why the journal is important, because you're kind of also looking at the behaviors around yourselves, your friends, to really hit home and give that message out. Yeah.
So before we wrap up, 2 announcements. So one is the media release form. We'll actually send it to all of you maybe tonight or tomorrow. So you'll have to get it signed by a parent or guardian as well as yourself. And if any of you don't want us to share any of your material, that's also fine. So you can decline. There's no pressure for you all to say yes and sign it, right? So we want to make sure that you guys have the control over your creative content and what like your presence on the internet. The other thing,
and if you
is,
have any questions about any of those things,
Yeah.
you can always reach out to us, and we can explain it to you before you sign or whatever. And also just mind about how
Before
they
you
can send it
accept
back, right? They
cookies.
can just take a photo of the signed thing and send it to us.
yeah, so maybe we'll send around an email or something with some of the information along with the document. The other thing is, so the next workshop will be in 2 weeks and it will be on cyberbullying. So the kind of midweek project for that is just think about like case studies, like stories that maybe happened to you, happened to your friends, things that you might have heard on the news about like cyberbullying incidents, right? So just to look those things up, maybe write a little bit about it, or if you all have any, again, creative ideas around it, it's good to start thinking about it. So what we'll be doing in the next workshop is a similar structure, right? We'll have 30 minutes where we'll talk about information, and then basically about 1 hour where we do this kind of creative work, right? So if you all can come up with like cool cyberbullying skits and PSA videos, start writing them and having them in like this journal of yours to kind of go ahead with it. The other thing is, I know there's been a lot of questionnaires, right? So we'll kind of, I don't think there'll be that many moving forward, but there will be 1 per workshop, right? Just to gauge your knowledge about basically your knowledge about these issues, right? So thanks a lot for answering, by the way. Like it's giving us a lot of information on how we can kind of structure these and what kind of information.
And yeah, some of this information, like we said, we will be sharing as we go with you guys as well, because again, part of this was shared experience. So some of you might think you're alone in this, but what you realize when you ask across like a range of people your age is, you realize how common some of the issues you have, or like some of the things you think about or don't think about are. So, and that's interesting for you guys to start thinking about as kind of advocates for people your age, right?
So Dimutu is suggesting we all watch Black Mirror, which is awesome. Black Mirror is really good. Yeah, so that's something I can watch.
We are with you, Dimutu, on that.
Yeah,
yes.
Black Mirror is awesome. A bit too hardish.
You have to see age appropriateness. And
yeah, make sure you guys are the right age to watch it.
Yeah. Don't,
does anyone?
Don't watch it.
Yeah. Does anyone need a translation, either in Tamil or Sinhala, before we wrap up with everything that we talked about?
Any part of
Just put your hand up.
Just let us know.
Any
like
part
if anyone
that was unclear.
Yeah.
So maybe you can use one of those emojis, reactions, basically.
Or you can unmute. Yeah, Dimutu, do you want us to translate anything?
Sign
sign
release form.
Maybe you want to.
දිමුතු අර අපි රිලීස් ෆෝම් එකක් එවනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ ඕගොල්ලෝගේ පින්තූර දැන් අපි මේ ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් එක ගැන සෝෂල් මීඩියා වල හරි වෙන කොහේ හරි පබ්ලිසිටි දෙනවා නම් ඕගොල්ලෝගේ පර්මිෂන්, ඕගොල්ලෝගේ පේරන්ට්ස්, ඕගොල්ලෝගේ දෙමව්පියන්ගේ පර්මිෂන් ඇතුව කරන්න ඒකට පොඩි රිලීස් ෆෝම් එකක් අසම් කරනවා. ඒකට ඕගොල්ලෝගේ පින්තූර විතරක් නෙවෙයි, අනිත් අර ඕගොල්ලෝ අපිත් එක්ක ෂෙයා කරපු මේ ක්‍රියේටිව් කන්ටෙන්ට් ඒ කියන්නේ රචනා ඒ වගේවත් අපි කැමති අපේ වෙබ්සයිට් එකේ හරි හෝස්ට් කරලා, ඒ කියන්නේ තවත් කට්ටියත් එක්ක ඒක තවත් කට්ටියට ඒක කියවන්න බලන්න chance එකක් දෙන්න. හැබැයි ඔයගොල්ලෝ කැමති නම් විතරයි. ඉතින් ඒකට අපි ඔයගොල්ලන්ට එවනවා රිලීස් ෆෝම් එකක්. ඒක කියවලා ඒක මොනවා හරි ක්ලියර් නැත්නම් අපිට කියන්න, අපි තව දුරට ඒක ගැන කියන්නම්. මේ ඒක අස්සම් කරලා අපිට මේ සතියේ එවුවොත් we can get started.
Small question. If I'm 18, I don't need to ask my parents, right?
No.
Okay, that's great. It's hard to communicate.
Speaking, you don't, but like, if you live in their house, you might want to like be on their good side, so just get them to sign.
Dimutu seems shocked.
All right, guys. Anything else? BWI team, is there anything else we need to tell them before we wrap up?
Can we make videos about cyberbullying or privacy?
Yeah.
Yes,
So
certainly,
yeah. So if you all have any creative ideas and you all want to make videos or songs or write something, please write something or like make that content. But one thing, like, again, this is up to you. If you all want, you can share it. But one thing we would request is maybe don't share it yet. Maybe share it with our group first. Because if it's a very good idea, maybe we can take it and develop it into develop it into the PSA or anything like that. But you know, like it's your creative content. So it's really in the end up to you whether you want to share it like tomorrow or whatever. But it'll be cool if you all can keep it and then share it with us first, and then you can kind of curate it a little bit and then develop it. Who knows, like your creative idea could be the final PSA as well, right? So
and the thing is, if you have an idea that you're developing over the week, we can also help you in terms of scripting, or if you need facts, things like that, help as well. We are all like in to help you as well. So you can always get in touch, get feedback. So yeah, you're all welcome to that.
Yeah, there were also a lot of singers. So like, I think it'll be really cool if you have like a couple of very creative songs. I like some of you had written your own songs, which are really cool. So like the midweek project, you can like whatever creative ideas that you come up with around cyberbullying, just go ahead, right? And we can work on it together.
Cool. Great work, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Yeah, this was so much fun.
Time and
Thanks,
effort.
guys.
Yeah. Hope you guys had as much fun as we did.
All right. Stay safe, everyone. Take care.
See you,
Bye.
guys.
Good night.
Take care, guys.
See you, everyone.
See you all.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.